If I look back on the 70s into the 80s, back then it was my company taking leads to the Bureau, because the Bureau didn't have the funding, and we would often work with the hoteliers to do a bid and to bring in the site inspection committees.
A number of things we did together on the bridge to attract events to Sydney that didn't have a direct conversion for us. But we also recognised that it put us in a very strong position commercially when it came to other activities, and so we benefited in that regard. So there really was a strong sense, I felt, of us all understanding of this is how we win together. The things we'll do that very strongly.
The role of funding the organisation to attract conventions and conferences and incentive groups to Sydney is significant. And we've got our various partners who contribute a significant amount, but without government involvement, we would founder.
It was so hard to convince them of the value of what BESydney represented. They didn't see the value of the business as a whole. They didn't see the impact of having opinion leaders.
One thing I've really liked about BESydney is this stress on science and that sector in bringing those sort of conferences here. If you get this intellectual capital here, I think it's always a very good idea to look at how you might connect with the young people we've got to bring up.
We had a great relationship. There was understanding from that side of politics about what industry partnerships meant and how they should be leveraged. A lot of it comes back to trying to prove the value. I mean, what you've got to do is try to prove the value on the ground of what this sector is offering.
By bidding and partnering with Business Events Sydney, we were able to showcase a really compelling kind of case for this meeting, but also to describe Sydney and to communicate it as an intellectual hub and as a business hub. And this team were very, very creative and successful to make that picture.
When I joined the industry, it was already in great shape. Associations had been meeting for many, many years, and the process of bidding and securing events was well established. But what was happening, competition was increasing exponentially across the world. Our competitors were building wonderful new convention and exhibition centres, and bidding processes were being funding. It was becoming very difficult to compete in what was becoming a more crowded environment.
What has changed is the opportunity to take advantage of all that, and that's all the facilities that we have here. The idea of an incentive is to go to a destination and receive something that you can't do as a normal tourist. And I think that the industry here has become far more sophisticated in the way it understands what those needs are.
Over the years, what the Bureau has been very good at doing is establishing the intellectual credentials of the city, talking about the business connections that can be made, but also looking at legacy and if people bring their meeting to Sydney, what's going to be left behind.
Initially, the role of the Bureau was basically a housing bureau to put people in hotel rooms because they were so scarce. And that was the role, but as the process has evolved, it went beyond just being able to provide an attractive place to visit. More and more, I think that conference organisers and associations and business organisations particularly are looking at value add.
I think so much has happened to make Sydney such a more vital and interesting city. And design plays a part in that and as a platform for the culture and development of the city, I think.
Leadership is about taking people where they need to go, not where they want to go. The fact that there's a very clear vision in the types of events, and it's only about events and bringing events that meet economic, social, intellectual, all of those different goals, the strategic goals of government, the strategic goals of the city, and that's a vision that we certainly share as well.
In the year 2000, we were bidding for 2006, and we had to go to Washington, D.C. for this bid. And it's one of those big medical meetings that, cities want to have, 5,000 people, all the exhibitors, etc. Real great economic value for the city. We didn't win. We lost out to Kuala Lumpur. It was a bit like Simon's. It was the It was the Olympic type bid. This Congress is coming to Sydney in 2021. Sydney bid again and won it. So 21 years later from that bid, it's coming to Sydney.
When you think back through the relationship that Qantas has had with BESydney, and you think about the evolution of aircraft, you probably go back to a 707, a 747, and now we're operating a 787 Perth, London.
What I saw when I first got involved as a cottage industry, really, a sunrise industry, is now a mature, well-formed and professional industry. But we couldn't have done it without the airlines, because we used the first ever convention registration system, and we were blessed, not only the beauty of the city and the fact that a lot of people hadn't been here for a conference before then, we couldn't have done it without the number of professional associations we had in Australia and the level of expertise and credibility of the professionals, the doctors, the specialists, the architects, everyone. We were blessed by having a very high standard of level of professionalism in those sectors, and that gave us the stepping stone to be able to bid for those events.
I think there's no doubt in history that we've relied on the beauty of our harbour and our great city, but the world has changed and it's now about our business and innovation brand. And as we move forward, I'd love to see that integrated, and I'd like to see the private and public sector come together to start showcasing our innovation and our place in the world. People, ideas lead to global collaboration, leads to innovation, leads to trade, inward investment and the like. And that's the story we need to continue to tell.